Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Kimberlee, for joining us. I'll introduce myself real quick. It says my name is Michelle Harrell, but I'm actually using our Upline's um, Zoom channel. But my name is Andrea Stutt, and I am an independent senior gold ambassador with Plexus Worldwide. And I'm excited for my team, Hope Dealers, to have a special guest today. Her name is Kimberlee Dobbs. And I got to know Kimberlee about a month ago. I was researching some autoimmune illnesses and how our products were helping people with certain diseases to get their lives back, to feel better than they had in years, and giving them hope. And so I reached out to Kimberlee. I did not know her, but she was so gracious to answer my questions. She got on the phone with me. I think we talked for an hour. And then she agreed to do a Zoom call for my team because I had so many people interested in hearing more details of her story. So anyway, but a couple of things I want to get out of the way. Like I said, we're independent Plexus ambassadors. Anything we say is just our own thoughts and our own opinions and our own stories. We do not claim to treat or cure any medical diseases. And we always recommend that if you're under a doctor's care to check with your doctor first. And whoever sent you to this call will be happy to help send you a list of ingredients and give you information to take to your doctor or pharmacist. And then I would like to just open up this call in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, I just thank you so much for the opportunity that you've given us to be in relationship and community with these other just other precious people, Lord, people that want to help others, people that want to feel well themselves, people that have a heart to put themselves out there and stretch themselves, Lord, because we want to, we want to be there for other people. And I just am so proud of everybody that's on this call today and everybody that's part of this organization. I just pray that all of us, in everything we do, that we just bring glory to you. In your name we pray, amen. All right, Kimberlee, well, I'm going to mute everybody, and I'm just going to let you talk, though, okay? So take it away.
All right. Well, my name's Kim, and I live near San Antonio. I have been a Plexus ambassador since July of 2015. I was diagnosed around age 23, 2007 with systemic lupus. I just had random symptoms. I didn't feel very well. It took several doctors and a lot of tests to finally come up with a diagnosis, but I did really well until about 2012. Up to that point, I was going to school full-time. I was working full-time, 12-hour night shifts in an emergency department. I was tired all the time, but I mean, it's normal when you have that type of schedule. In 2012, I got married, and we spent 4 weeks in Hawaii for his work. And I literally walked all over the island, had so much fun. We got back and I was doing P90X. And then one day in, say, November of that year, I woke up and I literally couldn't get out of bed. I was in so much pain. My hands were swollen and the joints in my fingers were swollen. The skin on the bottom of my feet would swell and I couldn't walk. My hips were inflamed, my knees, everything hurt. I had no energy. All I did was sleep. And it just continually progressed from there. I started developing pleurisy every few months, which is inflammation of the lining of your lungs. And it is extremely painful. Every breath you take hurts. I also developed pericarditis, which is inflammation around the heart, which is also extremely painful. And it can develop into very serious complications. I had brain fog, which people joke around about brain fog, but for me, I couldn't form words. I would try to think of the word, it was on the tip of my tongue, and I just couldn't form the words, and it was simple everyday words. And I couldn't put sentences together or thoughts together. I was always lost when I was trying to have a conversation. I couldn't remember what I was doing through the day. I had two lists, my do list and my done list, because if I didn't write it down, I wouldn't remember to do it. And if I did it and didn't write it down, I wouldn't remember that I did do it. And the simple things like feed the dogs, or brush my teeth, or eat lunch, simple things like that I wouldn't remember. It got to where I really couldn't drive because I would get lost. And Deb was just going to town, going to Walmart. I would get lost going to Walmart, and I'd have to stop and reorient myself and then get back on the road and go. And of course I had to have a list, or I would just go and forget. My speech was slurred. I was often afraid that people would think I was drunk or high because of the way that my mind was not functioning, and I was always getting stared at. It was very embarrassing to try to carry on conversations and sound the way that I did. I've also had stomach issues for a very, very long time. For me, it was constipation for the most part. I was hospitalized when I was younger for severe constipation, so that's something I had dealt with for a long time. And I pretty much took laxatives almost every day just to go to the bathroom, or it would get so bad that I would end up back in the hospital. After the initial stage of wanting to just sleep all the time, I developed insomnia. And I would literally wake up 10 to 15 times during the night. I might sleep an hour straight. It was horrible. I was on the verge of like a full system collapse because I was so tired and so sleep deprived, which in turn, I developed a caffeine addiction because I was so tired during the day, but I could never sleep. And I was drinking 10 to 15 caffeinated beverages a day, pots of coffee, soda after soda. It never helped. It never really made me feel awake, but I still depended on it and continued that addiction. I also took prescription narcotic pain medication multiple times every day to function, because without it, I couldn't walk on my feet because of the swelling in my feet. I couldn't hold a fork or zip my pants, or basic simple things, drive myself. And that was really important, especially then my husband traveled 98% of the time. So he was all over the United States or in Italy or Germany. And I was home to take care of myself and the dogs and the cows and the house and everything. And if I didn't take the pain medication, I couldn't function. I actually functioned a lot better with the pain medication than without. But I didn't like having to be on it all the time. And that definitely contributed to not being able to go to the bathroom. I was put on steroids daily. I had been taking them just for independent flares, but when I developed the pericarditis, I had to go on high doses daily, which in turn led to elevated blood sugar and elevated blood pressure, even though I was not overweight and I was not diabetic. My blood sugar and blood pressure were starting to run high because of the steroids. I started chemotherapy medication for the lupus, which causes your hair to thin. It causes you to not feel good at all. It messes with your stomach. It suppresses your immune system, which controls the lupus, but it also got infection after infection after infection. And the thing with the suppressed immune system is a simple sinus infection is often caused by the same bacteria that can cause meningitis. However, in healthy people, it's not a problem. They get their sinus infection, their body fights it off, and you're fine. But when you have a suppressed immune system, it can get very serious very quickly. Or strep can turn into a severe infection of the heart, or a cold can turn into pneumonia. Same with the flu. And so getting sick all the time, I was always on antibiotics. I was always miserable. And then when I went on the antibiotics, I'd have to go off of some of my medications so that I could get better. And then I would flare again. And it was this constant roller coaster that was just absolutely miserable. And I was 30 at the time, and I couldn't work, and I was sick all the time, and I was miserable, and I was crying all the time because I was so sick and miserable. And it was just not the kind of life that I wanted to live. Eventually I started IV infusions, which I did every 4 weeks. And I started feeling a little bit better, but I was still even more immune suppressed because those are also immune suppressants. And I still had a lot of fatigue, a lot of pain, and a lot of inflammation. We tried to taper down off of the steroids a few times, but I had an extreme reaction, most likely because of the caffeine that I drank. what happens when you're on steroids is it affects your adrenal glands, and the steroids tell your body you're making enough cortisol, you don't need to produce anymore, so your own production shuts down. When you try to go down on your steroid dose, you're not producing enough of the cortisol, and if you go down enough on the steroids and your body has a strong reaction, you can have an adrenal crisis. And I had borderline adrenal crisis a couple of different times, diarrhea, vomiting, plummeted blood pressure, horrible body pain, and then I'd have to go back on the steroids again and start all the way over. And it was just this constant up and down roller coaster of always being miserable. We were also told that I would probably never be healthy enough to try to have kids. And that was something that was really, really hard for me to handle. I've always wanted kids. I've always been for adoption as well. And I was perfectly fine with that, but there was still that pain of knowing that I would never get to try to have my own. That was really hard. I had posted a few times about being in pain and my insomnia online, and a friend of mine posted about Plexus, and she wasn't pushy. She just would say, you know, I have something that I think would really help you. I think you should try it, and that's it. She would leave, you know, she'd mention it and leave the ball on my court, and I really pretty much rolled my eyes, like I really don't want to be pushed. Because I'd been offered so many things and tried so many things in the past that were natural and holistic. And that's the thing with autoimmune disorders, is they try to push things that are going to boost your immune system. And that is definitely not what you want to do when you have an overactive immune system. And that's what lupus is. It's where something in your body has gone haywire, and your cells that are supposed to attack invaders like viruses, bacteria, parasites, those types of things, they attack healthy tissue because they just don't know the difference. And we have more of those cells than most people. And so we have the overactive immune system, which is why they give us medications to suppress the immune system. But it suppresses the whole immune system, so then you can't fight off what you do need to fight off, and you get the infections. But the things that I had tried in the past really tried to, I guess, boosted my immune system, and I would get really, really sick and end up worse off than I was. And I was really skeptical about Plexus because of all of that. I did not want to make myself sicker. But finally, around July 2015, I was at my wit's end. I was absolutely miserable. I was getting to the point where I really couldn't take care of myself again anymore. I had to sleep. I mean, my insomnia had gotten so bad that my doctor told me if I didn't find something to help, that I was probably going to have a multi-system collapse and end up in the hospital, because I had gone so long. I'd gone about a year at that time without sleeping more than a couple hours at a time. And for a healthy person, that's hard enough as it is. But when you have a disorder in which your body needs rest, it's even worse. And I kind of started researching the different ingredients in some of the Plexus products, and I really found that none of them would interact with my medications or with the disease. That some of the ingredients, such as the alpha lipoic acid, were actually being used in other autoimmune disorders, such as multiple sclerosis and in cancer patients. And so I realized if it doesn't interact with, you know, my medications that cancer patients would take, and they're treating other autoimmune disorders for it, you know, I was pretty comfortable with trying it. I had also been told again that I would always be too sick to try to have kids, or if I wasn't too sick, it's because my medications were not pregnancy compatible. And I was pretty much tired of hearing that. Interesting, the song Fight Song was on the radio about that time. And it really hit me that like I had to take back my life. You know, I may never get necessarily where I want to be, but I was going to really have to take back my life and change the way I ate and change the way I took care of myself and really try something to help me get over that hump. And I really didn't care if anybody else believed that I was going to get better. You know, my husband's very supportive and he's very loving, and you know, he was never negative about it. But you know, people were trying to tell me to be realistic about my health. This may never be, I may never get any better. You know, this may be as good as it gets. And they wanted me to be realistic, and I didn't want to be realistic. I didn't want to live the rest of my life that way. And So I contacted Allison and I started the triplex combo. And at that time I tried the boost, and I really liked it. I think I started seeing, within about a week, I started noticing a little bit more energy with the probiotic and the BioCleanse. I noticed that I was actually starting to go to the bathroom every day. And that was something I had never, ever done, except for my extreme pendulum swing the opposite way when I wasn't constipated and I was having the other issue. But I was going regularly and naturally, and I was still on pain medication, so that was a big feat. I was also starting to sleep a little bit better at night, and I didn't start taking it during a very low stress, quiet time in my life. My mom had developed a cyst in her spinal cord and went from, she's 73 then, or 72. And she went from fully functioning on her own to one day she couldn't get out of bed. And so I went and stayed with her for about 6 weeks. And it was hard enough to take care of myself, but I was also having to help her get up and down, in and out of bed, take her to and from work, help her bathe, help her dress, fix her meals, get her house clean and straightened out, and then take care of myself as well. And it was very physically exhausting. Getting up in the middle of the night to help her go to the bathroom, all of that. And I was still noticing a little more energy, and I was sleeping a little better. At that time, I think I was probably on my 4th type of sleeping pill. I think they were tranquilizers, but I couldn't take those when I was with my mom because I needed to be able to wake up when she called for me to help her to go to the bathroom. And I noticed I was able to fall asleep, and I was able to stay asleep for hours at a time without my sleeping meds. And when I went back to my doctor, he was actually really shocked that I had gone from, really strong tranquilizers to nothing within about a month. And my friends started noticing that I was able to put sentences together and I was able to do things better. I wasn't asking for quite as much help with my mom. I was able to take care of her for longer stretches at a time. And so other people started noticing the difference. Within 1 month, I think I was completely off of the sleeping pills, and I had gone from all of that caffeine I had been drinking to half-calf coffee, and I had quit drinking sodas completely. And I didn't have migraines or anything from it. I was still taking the boost at that time, but I don't think I took that very long. I only took it about a month or 2. And I went off of that because I wanted to completely go off of caffeine, which I eventually did. Within 6 months, I was completely on decaf coffee, no sodas, anything like that. I might have tea occasionally, but I was pretty much decaffeinated, which shocked anybody and everybody who had ever met me, pretty much. Within 2 months, I was pretty much off the daily pain medication and only having to take it on occasion when I'd had a really, really rough day, or just something happened. I would take it for a couple of days and I wouldn't have to take it anymore. And a few months after that, I was able to actually start tapering off of my steroids. I had added X Factor and Mega X and the Ease Cream probably September of that year, September, October. And that was when I was able to start tapering down on the steroids. I think my body, the plexus helped my body, help support my systems so that I was able to better adjust to the changes that occurred while I tapered off of the medications. Of course, being off caffeine definitely helped, but I was able to go from 20 milligrams of prednisone to 5 milligrams in about 5 months, when before it would take a whole month to go down 1 milligram. And I had been going down half a milligram before that and getting sick at the same time. Within 8 months of starting Plexus, my doctor approved us to start trying to have a baby. My lupus had been stable long enough, and I was doing so much better that she felt confident that my body could handle the pregnancy. And she approved all my medications, and every doctor is different. So definitely speak to your doctor about it, but she was okay with me taking all the products. She was skeptical at first. This is my rheumatologist, the one who handles my lupus. She was skeptical at first. She didn't see any reason why it would exacerbate anything, but she didn't think it would do anything either. And then after a few months, she would tell me, just keep doing what you're doing. You know, it's working for you. Just keep trying it. All of my doctors that I have taken it to have approved it and been impressed by the improvements that they've seen. And now my current OB and perinatal specialist both approve of my taking it. I am 21 weeks pregnant, and it's a miracle to me because I was told 2 years ago it was not going to happen. And it has not been an easy road, but I'm getting there. And she's healthy and very much growing and very active. I take my X Factor instead of prenatals, and that was a personal decision. I did not like how the prenatals made me feel. So I kept taking the X Factor, and I really liked it because it had the methylated folate in it instead of folic acid, which all of the other prenatal vitamins have. That was important to me because I don't have any issues. However, my sister-in-law, my husband's sister, has MTHFR, which is where you have a gene mutation where you cannot convert folic acid into folate and have issues absorbing it. And so with my husband, not knowing if my husband has that issue and now pregnant with a little girl, it was very important to me to have the methylated folate so that she was going to receive the benefits of all of that. So that's my Plexus story. I still have bad days on occasion. I've not been cured. I will not be cured. But what I have found since starting the Plexus products is a definite positive change in my life. I feel healthier. I am healthier. I can get up and do things. I have energy. Within a few months of starting it all, my blood sugar was back down to normal. My blood pressure was back down to normal. I wasn't gaining weight as fast on the steroids. And even pregnant, my blood sugar's fine. My blood pressure when I went the other day was 110/60, which for 21 weeks pregnant is pretty good. My weight's really good. I'm not swollen. I take naps every now and then, but for the most part, I'm doing really good. I still feel better now than I did a few years ago, and my worst days now are still better than my best days, a few years ago. So I'm grateful to Allison for not giving up on me and mentioning the Plexus to me. Autoimmune diseases are very, very different from other issues that you're going to deal with customers. And you have to approach customers differently who have autoimmune disorders. We've been approached by everybody telling us there's a cure, read this book, it'll cure you, take this, it'll cure you. And so one thing that will turn someone off faster than anything is telling them that you have something that's going to cure them or get them off all of their medications. And you should never, ever, ever approach anybody about any disease saying they're going to be able to get off all of their medications. And you should never encourage them or suggest that they stop any medications without talking to their doctors first. I was able to go down on my medications, but that was the deal I made with my doctor, was I could try Plexus, but I couldn't eliminate any medications except for medications I was already on as needed when I decided I needed them. And she said, if at some point I can go down on medications, we would do it together. And so that's what we did. I was able to go down on medications and eliminate some. I was able to go off the chemotherapy medication, but with her consent. Also, if you don't have an autoimmune disorder and you're speaking with someone who does, do not pretend that you understand what they're going through, because there's very little that you can say that is relatable. It's not the flu. It's not regular arthritis. It is something that you live with each and every day. It can be extremely debilitating. It is life-changing. And unless you have an autoimmune disease, it is impossible to understand. Even if you had an aunt or a cousin, with a disease, admit that you don't understand necessarily what they're going through, but you have something that you think might be able to help them, even just a little bit, because sometimes with an autoimmune disorder, when you're that miserable, even just a little bit of help is enough to try it. Research the ingredients, know the ingredients. If you're helping a customer with a specific disease, be able to help them understand how the ingredients will help that specific disease and be able to answer their questions. I did research on every single ingredient of every single thing that I took. And that's how I knew that I was confident that it was going to benefit me and at the very least not hurt me, because I researched everything. But that's what I am. I researched everything. My husband calls me the Google queen. So that's all I have to say.
Okay. Well, wow, that was so, I don't know, that was so good. So encouraging. I'm so thankful that you've gotten your life, I just can't imagine being 30 and thinking, oh my goodness, this is the way my rest of my life's going to be,
Yeah.
So, anyway, I'm just grateful for your story. And, back to I'm just curious because, we all are on this call because we have people that we are thinking of that have autoimmune issues, or they've, someone that we love. And so I just want to go back to Allison. How long had Allison been reaching out to you, or had she been reaching out to you?
I didn't even know that Allison took Plexus for a long time. She was one of those that she had seen huge changes in her life and huge changes in her husband's life, and she had signed up as an ambassador, but she was still really scared to approach friends, and I think on my Facebook feed from around a month ago, I had posted, if anybody knew anything that could help me sleep, please tell me. I woke up 10, 15 times every night. I can't do this anymore. And she had mentioned Plexus helps her sleep. And that's pretty much all she said. And I think maybe one or two other times before July of that year, when she mentioned it again, just again, like one sentence in a comment on Facebook, maybe, when I finally said, okay, fine, what is this stuff that you're talking about? Because I'm desperate now. I would try anything at this point. So she only mentioned it a few times, and it was never anything pushy. It was just, Plexus has helped me with that. Plexus has helped me with that. And that's probably why I was the most interested, because there was no long private message about it's going to cure you. I know 300 people who had cousins who, Plexus with lupus and all of that. And I appreciated that, because I don't want being sold to.
Okay. So, yeah, that was my question. Cause I think we're all very, most of us on my team, especially, we're yellows, and we want to help people. But I think sometimes what that does is that comes across, like you said, it can come across as trying to push something and not being sensitive. And I just appreciate you being honest about that. I do. So I think that's go ahead.
Sorry, it's definitely a different tactic you have to deal with, and it's a very different disease that has to be treated differently, whether it's with medications or naturally. So yeah, not being pushy is absolutely key.
Okay. And then what is your opinion on when we're talking with people with different autoimmune issues? Like, obviously, like, would you recommend, like, let's just, let's kind of go, like, give it 3 months and then just see what it does for you? I mean, like, because obviously everybody's different and how they respond is different. What would just be your recommendation based on your experience?
Start them slowly on whatever they start, because you don't want them to detox too quickly, because that can definitely trigger a flare that's going to be painful and miserable and going to turn them off the products.
Okay.
but I would say start very slowly and, you know, give it a good 2-3 months before you say no, before you say it's not working. Give your body time. The worse your body is, the worse condition your body's in, the longer it's going to take for you to see real results.
Yeah.
So I happened to start seeing results about a week. I remember we were on our way home from church, which was really, we left church a lot back then because I was so tired. I was falling asleep. So we'd have to leave church. And so we were leaving church that one day and I was bouncing off the walls of the car basically. And my husband looks at me and says, "Are you on meth?" "I've been taking Plexus." So I texted Alice and I told her that. She's like, "I love it."
Yeah, I bet.
Not every day was like that, you know, but I mean, that was the first day that we left church and I was awake.
Yeah.
You know, I wasn't falling asleep in church on the way home or whatever. So that was nice.
Well, I mean, it's life-changing is what it is. And so when we say it's life-changing, we really, we mean it. So, and then do you have like when you say start the product slowly, do you have like a schedule that you would recommend us kind of like going by, or is it literally just tweaking? I mean, do you have it like one of those set schedules?
I mean, it would be different for everybody. For me, honestly, I didn't really start slow because I had already talked to somebody I knew who had MS.
Okay.
And she had mentioned that she took like 2 or 3 Plexus Slims a day.
Oh.
And,
wow.
You know, she was taking 4 or more, you know, at least 4 X Factors a day. And so I kind of jumped all in on that. And I was drinking, you know, 2 Slims a day. And, you know, when I started trying to get pregnant, I was taking 4 X Factors a day. I knew that I needed to help going to the bathroom. And so I was not afraid to jump all in with the BioCleanse. But that's also something too, is you have to talk honestly with your customers and ask them how that part of their body functions. Because honestly, if they don't have any problems going to the bathroom, they don't need as much BioCleanse. And if they have problems with diarrhea or loose stools, they may not need BioCleanse at all, because magnesium is a muscle relaxer. So it can cause, it helps to prevent like muscle cramps and helps reduce anxiety, but it can also, you know, make you go to the bathroom a lot more. So if you have issues with that on that end, they may not need the BioCleanse at all.
Okay.
Just my opinion though. That's what I my customers. I had one who was having horrible issues with it, and I said, okay, drop the BioCleanse, keep the probiotic, drop the BioCleanse, and see if things clear up on that. And that was all that they needed to do.
Okay, thank you. And then on that note, if you have like because this happens to me, is happening to me right now. I have someone that's got well, I guess I can't say the diagnosis, but anyway, just she's in constant achy pain, joint pain all the time. And so, but she can't afford the whole triplex. And so she wanted to pick just one product to start with. If you had to just recommend one thing to start with, what would you say? Is that hard?
It's hard because so much is tied to your gut health, and inflammation and a lot of issues are tied to gut health and are improved by taking probiotics. So they're definitely very important, and I don't go without my probiotic. But the Slim, I guess my top 3 that I would have if I could only take one, I would have a really hard time picking between Slim, the probiotic, and the X Factor. So that would be really hard. And my husband started taking the products too. And the other day, I forgot to put a Slim in his lunchbox because he takes 2 a day as well. And so he said, yesterday we forgot to put a water bottle in, because I pack his lunch. And so he said, yesterday you forgot to put the water bottle in for my Slim, and today you put the water bottle in, but I didn't have any Slim. Are you trying to kill me? So, and he takes 4 X Factors a day too. So he's definitely sold on the products, and that was just the changes in me. But he would probably say the same thing. Between the Slim and X Factor, I don't know that he could make a decision.
I'm going to open it up for anybody that has a question. I don't know. I know everybody's doing. I'm trying to unmute everybody. Does anybody have a question? I should say that.
Need to mute.
If you have a question, unmute yourself. All right.
Hi, this is Marie.
Hey, Marie.
I just want to say, hey, that this was so helpful. I have so many people that I know that post on Facebook, or that I know in like, I see them all the time that have issues with autoimmune things. And I just never know what to say, because you can't say, hey, this will cure you. I just know that we have something that could potentially help, and I want them to try it. But it's so helpful to hear your viewpoint, to say, you know, not to be pushy. And so I really just want to thank you for sharing.
Yeah, you're welcome. I appreciate everybody that came on to listen. Well,
I just realized I muted myself. Sorry. What I was saying was, I appreciate everybody coming on the call. And if anybody has a question specific, just to message me and I'll message you. But I appreciate your help, and I hope you have a great day.
Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Okay. All right. Y'all have a blessed day. I'll talk to y'all soon. Have a good Friday.
Bye.
All right. Bye.